Welcome back to the Creatively Curious podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walter. Today, I wanted to go over, I'm once again in the Creative Visionary program with Art to Life and Nick Wilton. So I'm doing that again this year. I believe it's actually a 14-week program this year, but it's about 12 weeks. So there's 2 weeks of rest worked in there. So I wanted to do little reviews of the program. Now I was going to try to do these reviews in between other podcast episodes. I'm not sure that that will happen. So if you don't want to hear about the CVP program for 2025, then don't listen to these podcasts. But it will be listed in the podcast title, so you can see that before you even click on it. So I'm reviewing week 1 today, which they titled Discover. And basically, the premise is discovering you, discovering your authenticity and what makes you you, and embracing that. And I think the reason I love this program so much is that it's really a combination of art, creativity, and basically it's kind of like life coaching. And this program does focus primarily on painting. They use acrylic paints in the program. So, but I think there definitely would be benefit for anyone who's creative who isn't necessarily a painter, but those are primarily the exercises that we work on. And so yeah, be you, be authentic. And that's one of the things that I guess I've been working on personally, and I help life coaching clients work on is that, being the youiest you can be. And for some reason, it seems to be challenging to do that because we're beings who want to belong, and so we'll do almost anything to belong into our tribe. And I think that that definitely has evolutionary um, roots. So, if when we were hunter gatherers and we were in our little group, if you didn't belong and you weren't kind of flowing along with what the group culture was, then you would be kicked out and you wouldn't survive because there was no way to survive on your own. So I think it definitely makes sense from that perspective, but I think now it's a little bit different because we just have more ability to be, and not to necessarily live on our own and be by ourselves, but there's so many different people that we could connect with, and we have the technology now to connect with people all over the world, which is what's so great about the CVP program. So, um, and then the emphasis on that is to be as authentic and you as possible, and then to have that come out in your art. Because I think sometimes we want to like have people like us, have people like our art, then maybe purchase our art. But ultimately, if we're just making stuff to sell it, I think it loses its impact. And it's just, I don't know if it would feel good to make that art. So, and then there's that vulnerability there that if you do come from your most authentic place and you're making art that you really love and represents you, and if no one likes it and no one buys it, what does that mean? But from a life coaching perspective, it's so important to not make that mean anything about you. That maybe you just haven't found the right buyers, they haven't found you, and to keep going. And ultimately, for me, one thing that I've loved about this program is working in this little journal. And like I make um, my little pages in here almost daily, I would say. And I it's not like I'm going to sell these pages, but it feels so good to do it. And I do feel really safe and really myself in this journal. And so my goal this year will be to try to bring that more into pieces that hopefully I will sell. I'm going to be at some of the art walks in the city where I live in Edmonton, and then also to be able to show those more on social media. I didn't really post a lot last year when I was in the program, so this is my second year doing the program. So again, my intention will be to show that work more, which feels vulnerable, feels hard, but ultimately it's sharing a piece of myself that's really important to me. So um, I endeavor to do that. So they talk about soul. So soul is an essential part of you. It's what matters to you, what you're all about, and you want to bring that into your work. So, and then they talk a lot about what feels right. So I guess that's that intuition piece. So, and I also love this too from a life coaching. And my coach just asked me this last week. It's like, what feels good? Do what feels good. Do more of what feels good and less of what doesn't feel good. And you can do that in your art too. So, what feels good to you in these pieces, what doesn't feel good? And don't do those things that don't feel good. And then chipping away at it, like more, a daily practice, even if it's 15 minutes, half an hour, that's more important than maybe once a week for 3 hours. That consistency of showing up and giving yourself the time and space to be creative is more important than, finding huge chunks of time. And I have found that with me is that I can work for little periods of time. Sometimes it's longer than others, especially if I have work. I'm trying to get pieces ready for art walks and things like that. But ultimately, when I show up daily in a creative practice, I find I'm just more creative. I start seeing things out on my walks or just in daily life, and they inspire me. And I think, oh, I could work that shape into some of my paintings, or I can try that in my sketchbook and see how it goes. And the more you're doing that and just like exposing yourself to the being creative, then the more you are creative. So they also talked about limiting beliefs, which a lot of people have, and you could use these limiting beliefs for pretty much anything. So I don't have enough talent. I don't have enough time. Let's see, they added one this year. I don't have enough space. I don't have enough, or I won't make money doing art. And then comparing. So comparing and despairing. So I won't get into the limiting beliefs too much, but I think we all think that, like, oh, I'm not talented enough. Like, I don't have a fine arts degree. I've taken art classes my whole life. I did take some art classes in university, but I don't have a full-on degree. So I feel like sometimes that comes up for me, like, ooh, I don't have that formal training. Who am I to call myself an artist and sell things? I don't have the right space, time, not time, space, materials. Space is one thing for sure a lot of people say. And like, I know for myself, I need a space where I feel like I can be messy because I do have a tendency to be a bit messy now with my art, which is interesting, and that's been a change since CVP. I have one, if you're watching the video, one back here that's not messy, and I think my art, I was trying to be very controlled with it before, which maybe was me trying to kind of be controlled in my life, but ultimately I am kind of a messy person. Oops. Um, I'm not dirty. I like to vacuum, dust, I clean, but I have a tendency to just kind of feel comfortable in that mess. And it's coming out in my art, and I do feel like I need a space. But you know what? You can put down drop cloths, you can prepare your space. I don't think you need a huge space. If you're painting bigger paintings, obviously you need bigger space for that. But initially, you don't need a ton of space. Like I can't remember exactly how big this is, but it's the sketchbook isn't very big. And if you're just doing that daily practice, that can get you really far. And then working on little pieces like this year, last year, they recommend 12 by 12. I'm going to try to work a little bit bigger, I think, this year and see how that goes. But you don't need a ton of space. You need a table, maybe an easel. You could do it in your kitchen. Um, let's see. Time. I think I already talked about time, but I just a lot, literally probably 30 minutes a day for doing it. If I have more time, great. But I have two kids, I have a busy life, so sometimes half an hour is all I have, and that's enough. There's no money in art. Eek. That's a big one. Maybe I won't get into. I did record some money affirmations, so I do have this limiting belief actually, and so I'm working on it. But also, like people buy art. There are people who have money and they value art and they want to invest in it. And there's lots of people in this world. There's also lots of ways that we can make our art accessible to everyone. So prints or pieces on paper, which I think I'm going to try to do a little bit more of that this year as well. Sometimes it's hard to buy a piece of original art that's a large piece because it might be more expensive, but also like there's a lot of time and effort and energy that goes into creating that piece. And like for myself, it's all what you value. Like some people don't value original art, so they're probably not going to buy it, but then they're not your customer. So, um, and then let's see, the compare and despair. Well, that you compare yourself to other artists, and that's one thing I'm learning from CVP too. They have coaches who have taken this program like year after year after year, and interestingly, was it this yeah, it was the first week, one of the calls, they showed art that some of the coaches did in their first week of their first CVP. And it was just so illuminating and refreshing because the art was definitely like you could tell it was kind of like, yeah, it's my first week and this first year of this program. And to compare where their art is now, years and years later, it's so different. And like to just give ourselves grace in that like we're learning, we're in that kind of beginner's mind, in that learning space. And the more you do, the better you get. And that can be applied to anything. So it's not like you're going to be an Olympic athlete the first time you play soccer. Obviously not. You're going to be practicing and practicing and, strengthening your muscles and working on your techniques and playing and playing and playing and playing. The same is true of art. The same is true of anything that you just need to put in the time and and also hopefully you love it, whatever it is you love, then you're willing to put in that time because you enjoy it. So don't compare and despair. And then the other piece was discernment. So deciding like what you like and what you don't like, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and to make space for more things that are yeses, like full on yeses, and not making space or more limited space for things that feel more like no. So I have a episode that talks about the body compass. So we go into the body to feel that. And I think ultimately that's probably where everyone feels it. We maybe just don't talk about it, but I can link to that episode too. that talks about that. So I try, sometimes it's hard. It is hard to feel, feel what's a full on yes and a full on no. Sometimes you need to just try things. You try things and you go, oh, I didn't like that. That didn't work. But then right? It's not like there's no like one way is the right way. It's whatever feels good to you. And then this week, we're working on inspiration board. So what makes you feel good, alive, excited? And, this will change over time, but using colors that you really like, images that you really like. So I'm still working on these boards. Um, let's see, what else? Is there anything? There's always quotes that are in the presentations that I really like. Oh, this one's from Maya Angelou. Life loves to be taken by the lapel and told, I'm with you, kid. Let's go. I love that. And yeah, basically, soul is present in anything that matters to you. Limiting beliefs are optional, constraining, and false. Clear intentions change what occurs in your life and art. Discernment is essential in strong art and life. Doing what you love brings joy, inspiration, and creativity. And yeah, I just feel like, we're just starting out. So just discovering who we are, what we like, and returning to ourselves, like just really being true to ourselves and having that come out in the art. So if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them, and let me know if you're enjoying these recaps of the Creative Visionary Program 2025, and I'll see you next time.